they shouldn't be alive. And yet, they are. Not just living, but thriving, decades, even a century, beyond what science once thought possible. In the remote corners of the world, a hidden group of humans is quietly defying death. 115, 120, 124 years old, and counting. Their cells age differently. Their bodies fight off diseases we still can't cure. And their DNA? It holds secrets that could change the future of humanity or destroy it. What if the key to human immortality has already been found and kept hidden? In this story, we'll follow real scientists, controversial experiments, and one disturbing truth: nature never meant for us to live this long. So why are they still here? And what price might we pay for trying to join them? For most of us, the idea of living past 100 feels distant, an abstract number tucked somewhere at the edge of possibility. The average human lifespan today? Around 73 years globally. In developed countries, maybe 80, sometimes 85. And while modern medicine has extended our lives more than ever before, curing infections, managing chronic illness, replacing organs, there's still a wall we can't seem to break through. Past a certain point, the body just gives up. Cells degrade, systems collapse, and death, still undefeated, always comes. Or so we thought. But in recent decades, cracks have begun to appear in that wall. Small, strange, unexplained. In pockets of the world, Japan, Sardinia, California, Georgia, we're finding people who aren't just living longer, but aging slower. Their hearts remain strong at 100. Their minds stay sharp. Their bodies resist disease without drugs. Science calls them supercentenarians, people who live beyond 110. But even that term feels insufficient, because these individuals don't just stretch time, they break it. And now, as biotech, gene editing, and AI-driven medicine accelerate faster than ever, the question is no longer if we can extend human life, but how far, and at what cost. What makes these rare humans different? Is it genetics, environment, mindset, or something we've yet to discover? In this series, we'll go beyond the headlines and into the uncomfortable truth about humanity's obsession with immortality. It didn't start in a lab. It started with whispers, old rumors, and mountain villages. A woman in Georgia who lived to 120, still working in the fields. A man in Okinawa who outlived his grandchildren. At first, no one believed them. Birth records were shaky. Stories were passed down by word of mouth. But then came the data, and with it, the questions. In 1963, a French woman named Jean Calment was confirmed to have lived 122 years and 164 days, the longest verified human lifespan in history. She became an international sensation. Scientists, skeptical at first, began digging deeper. By the late 20th century, blue zones were identified, regions where people consistently lived longer, healthier lives. But it wasn't just about diet or lifestyle. There were anomalies, outliers, individuals who didn't just beat the odds, they rewrote them. Their blood showed lower levels of inflammation. Their telomeres, the caps on our DNA that shorten with age, remained unusually intact. Some of them never had cancer, never suffered dementia. It was as if their biology followed different rules. That's when governments got involved. Quietly, funding research, sending teams to collect DNA samples. In 2004, a classified project in northern Italy discovered a family line with a mutation that seemed to repair cellular damage automatically. In 2011, a biotech startup sequenced the genome of a 114-year-old man and found something they never released publicly. The race had begun, not to understand these people, but to replicate them, to bottle what made them different and sell it or control it. Because the truth was becoming clear. If we could figure out what made super longevity possible, we could engineer it. And when humanity gains the power to outrun death, the question is no longer when we die, but what becomes of us when we don't. By 2023, over 150 verified individuals across the globe were documented to have lived past 110. That number may seem small, but in genetic terms, it's a goldmine. Scientists began comparing their DNA, looking for common threads. One study published in Nature identified a rare variant of the FOXO3 gene, found disproportionately in people over 100. Another, even more secretive, explored how certain individuals had a mutation that boosted autophagy, the body's ability to clean out damaged cells. It was like their biology had been upgraded. But here's the twist. These genes aren't new. They've always been here, hidden, passed down in silence. What changed is us. Technology has caught up. We can now edit human DNA with CRISPR, simulate biological aging with AI, build gene therapies that mimic the effects of these rare mutations. And people are already paying for it. In Silicon Valley, life extension startups are attracting billions in investment. CEOs are injecting themselves with experimental plasma. Clinics in Switzerland offer cellular rejuvenation for the ultra-rich. And no one really knows the long-term effects. Because in the shadows of progress, something's shifting. In 2024, a biotech firm in China quietly published data showing rapid organ regeneration in mice treated with synthetic longevity factors. But 8 weeks later, the study was retracted without explanation. The lab's director disappeared from public view. What began as curiosity is becoming obsession. And obsession, especially when fueled by power, ego, and money, tends to spiral. We wanted to know how to live longer. But what if, in that pursuit, we unlock something we can't control? Something designed not to prolong life, but to transcend it entirely? Here's what no one expected. Aging is not just a natural process. It's a biological program, built in, like software. For decades, scientists believed aging was simply damage accumulated over time, oxidative stress, DNA mutations, cellular wear and tear. But in recent years, a new theory emerged, one that changes everything. What if aging is an active mechanism, something our bodies choose to do? Enter the epigenetic clock, a revolutionary discovery by Dr. Steve Horvath. He found that our biological age can be measured, and in some cases, reversed. Not in theory, in practice. Cells reprogrammed in a lab began behaving like they were decades younger. Old mice grew young again. Damaged organs regenerated. And suddenly, the line between aging and disease started to blur. If aging is programmable, then so is longevity. But here's the part that scientists don't say out loud. If we can turn off aging, we might also be able to turn off death. Not in the poetic sense, in the literal, biological one. And that raises a terrifying question. If the human body is capable of indefinite life, why doesn't it happen naturally? What's stopping us? Some believe it's evolution. Death, they say, serves a purpose. It makes space, forces renewal. Others fear something darker, that tampering with these systems risks breaking safeguards we don't even understand. Because if aging is a switch, someone, somewhere, may already be reaching for it. And once that switch is flipped, there may be no way back. Right now, in hidden laboratories and billion-dollar startups, humanity is rewriting its own expiration date. Scientists at Harvard have successfully reprogrammed the cells of blind mice, restoring their vision by turning back their biological clock. In Japan, researchers have extended the lifespan of nematode worms by 500% using gene editing tools. In California, companies like Altos Labs and Calico, backed by tech giants, are pouring hundreds of millions into cellular reprogramming, hoping to make age irrelevant. And they're not alone. AI models are now predicting which genes influence longevity with pinpoint accuracy. CRISPR-Cas9 allows scientists to edit those genes like lines of code. Epigenetic reprogramming, using chemical signals to erase signs of aging, is no longer science fiction. Human trials are beginning. Quietly, carefully, some with results that raise more questions than answers. But not all breakthroughs are public. Leaked internal documents from a longevity startup in 2023 hinted at successful rejuvenation tests in non-human primates, but no official study followed. At the same time, elite clinics in the UAE and Switzerland offer plasma transfusions from young donors, mitochondrial therapies, and experimental stem cell injections. Some clients never disclose their identities. We are no longer guessing. We are testing. And what we're testing may not only change how we age, but what it means to be human. Because if biology becomes programmable, what stops someone from editing more than just aging? Intelligence? Emotion? Identity? In the race to defeat time, science has become the scalpel and the mirror. The real question is, will we still recognize what we see when the cutting is done? For every miracle science gives us, there's a shadow it cannot control. And in the race to conquer aging, that shadow is growing. Some researchers believe we're unlocking the future of medicine, Others say we're tampering with forces we don't yet understand. One theory suggests that aging exists not to punish us, but to protect us from mutation, from unchecked growth, from ourselves. Take that away, and the body may lose more than time. Cancer risk skyrockets when damaged cells refuse to die. Autoimmune disorders emerge when systems forget how to shut down. In trying to live longer, we may become something fragile, unstable, even monstrous. Then there's the ethical fracture. If longevity therapies work, who gets them? Will it be reserved for billionaires, politicians, those with access, while the rest of humanity watches time slip away? A two-tiered world, where one class evolves and the other simply expires. Some scientists whisper of deeper risks: the loss of generational wisdom, overpopulation, societal stagnation, a culture where death no longer humbles us and ego becomes eternal. Others fear something worse, that extending life will also extend suffering, that minds trapped in aging bodies, artificially sustained, may lose their humanity before they lose their pulse. There are rumors, too, of experiments gone wrong, of test subjects whose cells wouldn't stop dividing, of brains that regenerated, but forgot who they were. Stories no one can verify and no one dares to publish. Because in the quest to defeat death, we may have forgotten to ask, what happens to the soul when the body refuses to die? It started slowly, almost invisibly. A few extended lives here, a few miraculous recoveries there. But within 2 decades, the divide became undeniable. A new class of humans had emerged, longer living, disease-resistant, genetically refined. The media called them the Eternals. They were not immortal, but close, stronger, smarter, richer, and with time on their side. Governments scrambled to regulate the technologies, but it was too late. Longevity became currency. Entire economies shifted. Insurance collapsed. Retirement vanished. The very meaning of age unraveled. And then came the backlash. Protests erupted across Europe and South America. Death for all or life for none, read the signs. In Africa, aging populations demanded equal access to treatments. In Asia, underground clinics offered black market gene edits, many with tragic results. Deformed organs. Mental collapse. Biohacks gone wrong. The dream of living longer was no longer just a dream. It had become a weapon. Worse, nature responded. Population swelled beyond projections. Food systems strained. Ecological collapse accelerated as human lifespans outpaced planetary limits. And still, the Eternals grew more distant, more detached. Their bodies were human, but their minds? Sharpened by decades more experience. Untouched by illness. Cooled by time. And then it happened. They stopped seeing us as equals. A quiet shift, boardrooms, governments, labs, slowly filled with those who didn't age. Policies changed. Priorities shifted. Some say it was peaceful, others call it a silent takeover. A new evolutionary class, created by us, now shaping the world without us. Because when you give a few the power to escape death, you may also give them the power to decide who deserves to live at all. In the end, it's not just about living longer. It's about what we become in the process. Longevity isn't just a scientific breakthrough, it's a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and desires. We now stand at a threshold no generation has ever faced, the ability to edit our biology, extend our lives, reshape what it means to be human. But with that power comes a question no machine, no algorithm, no gene editing tool can answer for us. What kind of future are we building, and who gets to live in it? Because the truth is harsh. Every step forward has a cost. Every promise of immortality echoes with the risk of inequality, disconnection, and losing the very essence of what it means to live, fully, briefly, meaningfully. We can push back death, but should we? We can transcend nature, but will we still recognize ourselves? Some argue we must evolve, that stopping now would be surrendering to decay. Others warn that the further we go, the less human we become. Progress demands sacrifice. But the question remains, what are we sacrificing? And so, humanity faces a choice. Not in some distant future, but now. Do we continue chasing the eternal, or pause, and ask whether the finish line is worth crossing at all? Because in the pursuit of forever, we risk forgetting how precious now truly is. Remember how we started this story? With people who shouldn't still be alive, and yet, somehow, they are. Maybe now, after everything you've heard, you understand why that fact was never just a curiosity. It was a warning. Because this isn't just a story about science. It's about us, our choices, our fears, our hunger to outsmart nature, and the quiet cost of doing so. What began as a miracle became a mirror, and the reflection isn't easy to look at. I'll be honest with you, when I first heard about super longevity, I was amazed, inspired. Who wouldn't want more time? But now, I'm not sure. Not because I fear living longer, but because I fear what we might lose to make it happen. So I'll ask you, not as a narrator, but as a fellow human, if you had the chance to live 200 years, would you take it? If your mind stayed sharp, but the world around you kept changing, would it still feel like life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let this be more than a video. Let it be a conversation. And before you go, here's one last thing. A recent discovery in Siberia found human remains with genetic markers linked to extreme longevity, dated over 12,000 years ago. What if this isn't new at all? What if the secret to defeating death was never a discovery, but something we forgot? Something buried, waiting.